a pro-Palestine Jewish voice. Leni, everybody.
Thank you very much. If I had written a speech this morning, I would have written a different speech, because I think what's happened since yesterday is absolutely horrific, and my speech just isn't strong enough to cover what's going on, but hopefully other people will. I spoke at the rally last week as a PSC activist and as a Jewish supporter of Palestine. After my speech, a young Jewish man came over to me. He thanked me and said how my speech resonated with his upbringing, with the dilemmas he faced. Then, during the march, many Palestinians, Syrians, and people from other Arabic countries also came over to me to say thank you for what I said. And it confirmed my belief that it is crucial that the world knows that there are so many Jewish people who are horrified by the genocide they are witnessing. It is very hard to speak about Palestine in a Jewish environment. It's always been very painful to me that I could not discuss my views on Palestine with my family. I was brought up in a house where Israel was totally loved, and that love was so deep and is very deep in many Jewish people's hearts. And this is because of the Holocaust. When I was little, we had a cousin who came to live with us. His name was Usher. He didn't speak much. He was always sad. He had a number tattooed on his arm. I was told, don't ask him anything. Then he committed suicide, and we were never allowed to ask anything about Usher again, but it certainly affected me. As I grew up, I started to question what was going on in Israel, but I was still never able to raise anything with my family, not then and not now. And when I went to Palestine a year ago and saw the oppression firsthand and was so moved, I decided, right, now's the time I must try to talk to my family. I've seen things with my own eyes. They can't deny my reality. And I tried, and it totally failed. Many people, many Jewish people just don't want to know the other side. Jewish people feel that because of the Holocaust, we have to support Israel, because 6 million Jews were killed. Well, Jews know what genocide is. So how can the state of Israel be committing genocide against the Palestinians? Israel's killed over 7,000 Palestinians in just 2 weeks, over 3,000 of them being children. Yesterday, they cut Gaza off completely. The internet, and those are the things I was mentioning before. But I want to move on to talking about the accusation of anti-Semitism, because it's very important. When we first heard this accusation a few years back, we discussed it in PSC, and we said, it won't go anywhere. Well, how wrong we were. Politicians have been using it as a tool ever since. They've been using it as a tool to rally support for Israel. They want a strong ally in the Middle East. So they equate any criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. This is extremely dangerous. Not only does it stop open political debate, but it obscures real anti-Semitism, which goes on. Because anti-Semitism is completely different than criticizing the policies of Israel, a state that was built by forcing over 750,000 Palestinians from their home. How can we not have the right to criticize a state's policies? We criticize all sorts of states' policies, but not Israel. Anti-Semitism was a very useful tool to bring Jeremy Corbyn down. It was a useful tool to get rid of opposition in the Labour Party, even though so many of those expelled were Jewish. It's a tool that's meant to silence us, but we must not be silenced. We must shout. We must speak out for justice and freedom for Palestinians and an end to genocide. There is a growing number of Jewish people questioning what Israel is doing, and I find this very heartening. Since last week, there have been so many more Jewish demonstrations all across the world. And I just want to talk about one American organization, because obviously it's both close to my heart being an American. Also, there was no way you could be in opposition a few years back. And now Jewish voices in America are standing up. There's an organization called Jewish Voices for Peace, and I really recommend you look them up on the internet, because they are organizing all over the country. And last week I mentioned the sit-in that they organized of Jewish people in Congress and took over a room in Congress. Well, just yesterday, I saw it this morning, they had an enormous demonstration in Grand Central Station, which is right in the heart of New York City. And it's just fantastic to see them growing, and they're also full of young people, which is also wonderful. And this brings hope. Jewish people are once again standing up for justice and calling for an end to bombing, an end to ethnic cleansing, and an end to the brutal occupation, and an end to genocide. We are making our voices heard, saying, "Not in my name."